Hi, I want to make a video, a very quick one, very long one, a very quick video, video on the big payoff. Now what? Now what? What was behind? Is it underneath this? Oh wait, no, wait. Oh, that's right. There's no payoff. There's just another curtain to look behind. Okay, I mean this comes down to the idea of mystery, and I mean it's just really it comes down to just describing these very generalize subjects very more specifically, because that's the only place you can go. I've discussed just about all there is to know except the specific science of things. I'm just describing, philosophically speaking, understanding reality. There's only so much you can do to describe it. So it comes back to this description of reality. And getting the point across as best as I can, as best as anyone can, in describing these philosophical subjects and getting the point across as best as you can. The big payoff. Now what? What, who, what, when, where, where, why? Okay, it must be behind the bookcase, right? Let me check. Oh, wait, no, it's not behind there. I wonder if it's underneath the chair. Wait, no, I don't see much of anything. I can say there was something under there, and, try to fool you or fool myself, or, project something onto the environment, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just another aspect of existence, existencing itself. The big payoff, I would say is contrivance itself, because it doesn't have much meaning anyway. Big payoff, oh, I found the curtain. It was in a hallway, straight, a narrow 3 by 30 hallway, and I walk to the end, I see the curtain. Oh, there's another hallway. What a big payoff. I can't wait to find, it goes back to the idea of addiction. You can't wait to find the next curtain, and you can't wait to find the next curtain and the next curtain. And you find the next curtain and the next curtain. You have the big payoff. You have the singularity, right? You have the big payoff in the end. It's so gratifying. Oh, yes. But then again, the big payoff, I mean, then what? You have the big payoff, then what happens after the big payoff? If you have a big payoff, then that means it's the end then, right? Is the big payoff going to be a singularity that lasts forever? It's just going to be a feeling of euphoria forever? Like an infinite buzz on alcohol? Is that what you're going to be experiencing? Or is it going to be like a mystery so profound that it leads to another mystery so profound? That's so profound that the mystery that you had before means not as much as the mystery you had before, but it's so profound that you start off in this mystery that it means all that much more, even though it's not as profound, but it's profound in the right way or something. No, it doesn't mean anything. The profoundness that you're applying to the situation is all in your head. And even if it is in your head, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything. You can contrive it, but your description of reality is lacking even in your perception, because there's obviously some illogical incongruities happening there, because obviously you can only think inside of reality. You can only think of things that exist. You can mix two different contradictory ideas, like, traveling in time, or a bunch of contrived ideas mixed into one. You can think about these things, but it has to be something that's descriptive in reality, because nothing exists outside of this reality. You have to think of things that exist, and the only thing you do to think of something that doesn't exist is think of something that only exists as a concept that doesn't exist other than an idea that exists, like time travel or teleportation or whatever it may be, in the ways that we fictionally understand them. Obviously, there's going to be other more specific ways in describing those circumstances, and they exist different ways in reality, but generally speaking, you get the point. We can only think inside of reality so much. I mean, we can't think outside of the boundaries of reality. We can only think within the logic of reality. Even if we're thinking of a lie, it's based on the logic of things that exist in reality. It's only because it bumped off the walls of something that exists in reality. Even if it's the wrong thing, even if it's not real, the interaction's real, and the conclusion, even though it's not something that exists in reality, is bouncing off the same walls of reality. It's bouncing inside the same bubble of reality. Even if you come to the wrong conclusion, it's the wrong conclusion based off of just a few errors in contradiction or whatever it may be, or denial. It's not accepting the truth. So it's something that exists regardless. You can't think outside the concepts of reality, is what I'm saying. You can just make mistakes, but you're still within the confines. It's still bouncing off the right mistakes, because the wrong answer, generally speaking, bounces off the right answers. It's somewhere in between bouncing here and there. It's the trajectory of the answer and where it lands, generally speaking, based off of all the other past bumpings and how it bumped off of the walls and so on and so forth. So the big payoff. Yes, the big payoff in the end. Where does it lead? To another big payoff? It doesn't lead anywhere except to the sky, to the gods, right? But then again, the big payoff is going to be a payoff that ends. You have a payoff, and then what happens after the payoff? Not much. I mean, the payoff happens, and then what? Well, the payoff. Now what? Is the payoff going to happen again? There's going to be another big payoff, and that's the addiction. That's the driving force of addiction. It's about finding the payoff, the singularity. Okay, you got the singularity. Okay, the singularity happened. The big payoff happened. You figured out everything. Now what? Is the figure out everything lead to instantaneous nirvana, death? I mean, what are you going to do if you hypothetically you reach this big payoff? What's going to happen? Nothing. You're going to have the payoff, then nothing. It's about having a big payoff, then another big payoff, then another big payoff. It's about the addiction, and once you know people are looking for the big payoff constantly, about something, expecting something, some singularity, something great, you know they're being driven by the addiction. Because the addiction describes the inherent nature of reality, and you know the big payoff is based on that, and you know a person's being driven by it when they're talking about a big payoff. So you know a person's logic is flawed, or their perception is viewing things incorrectly when they talk about a big payoff, because the big payoff is just based on their perception of existence and how they want to pay off their addictions and what they find satisfying. When you talk about a big payoff, there's not a big payoff much, especially when they talk about it, especially in a philosophical discussion, because it doesn't mean anything. It's a big payoff. It doesn't. You're not accomplishing anything. Because you're gonna have a big payoff to lead to another big payoff, and like I mentioned before, it's about attacking the addiction when it comes to those big payoffs. Because the addiction is the thing that's driving your desire for a big payoff, but that's the only thing that we're here. We exist, and we can't do anything but be driven by the force of wanting something to happen, you know, like a big payoff. It's something that's driving us forward. Once we exist, we're forced to think, come to conclusions. We're forced based on our environments. We're forced based on our interaction, and we're going to be forced to think and react a certain way, and things are going to happen to us, and we're going to have an interaction on the environment based on my body interacting and the outside world interacting with me. So it's all just one big sloppy mess. That's just existing in a chaotic mechanism of complete jerk-offery and sloppy mess. I mean, that's all we're doing is jerking off, satisfying ourselves, and then doing it all over again in the end. So, I mean, really, there's not much here that we're doing. Not much at all. You got the big payoff, the big game, and then you watch your home team win, and then you can't wait for next year to see if your home team even makes it to the finals again to win. But once you win, that's it. You win. It's like seeing these sports events, right? I mean, you see your team win, and so you can't wait for next year just to see if your team makes it to it wins their first game, or wins the playoffs, or wins the Super Bowl, or whatever it is, or the World Cup, just to do it all over again. I mean, that's all you're doing is, okay, we won this year. I can't wait to see if we win next year. Oh, we lost this year. I can't wait to see if we win this year, but you had to lose, and it's not as satisfying, and you have this expectation that you're going to win again, but when you lose, it took the losing for you to find it all the more satisfying to win again. But when you're winning constantly, it's like the winning doesn't mean as much then. And if it means as much, right, if it still has meaning to it, if that winning still has meaning to it, then yeah, so anyway, I just want to make sure I'm keeping on track. So yeah, if it took the losing to make the winning seem important, then the winning means less, and it takes the winning over and over again, and you get addicted to winning, and it becomes even worse when you lose again. So not only are you addicted to winning, and it doesn't mean as much, it hurts more when you lose once you've won so many times. Generally speaking, of course. And once you've won, it takes losing to make winning more satisfying. And it's just a repetitive, redundant process of doing the same function over and over again. And without doing the function, you got nothing to fight for. You got nothing to look forward to. But the thing you're looking forward to is just the same old redundant crap. It's just you cover it up with a different kind of, a different flavor of sprinkles. And that's all you're doing to change up the game just a little bit, right? It's a different team this year. It's a different ball we're using. Or we're kicking the ball instead of throwing the ball. Or you can only do so much with a ball. What are you going to use, a cube next? We're going to use cube balls to change up the game and make it seem more interesting, but it's still a win-lose game. There's always losers on one side. There's always winner. There's one winner on the other side. There's a top three, but there's second and third place are still losers to the one. The one's always, yeah, I won. And the two other guys are saying, oh, okay, I didn't lose, but I wasn't number one. But I was ahead of all these guys, so they're obviously in a relative position of winning at least to the people they were in front of. But there's still one ultimate winner, and it's used every person you like blaming the person in saying in the line or traffic that's ahead of you. You're relative to your position. You're going to blame the person in front of you, or based on your position, it's going to be the person in front of you or behind you that takes the blame, or that takes the that makes you take the credit for because you were in front of them and they're all behind you, and it takes all these other guys being one after the other. And the further down you go, the more of a loser you are. And it takes all these losers to make one winner. And that's the way the mechanism works. Like not only evolution, but to make the win all the more glorious, it takes more losers. So it takes 100 people to make the one person winning seem more gratifying than if it was just 3 people racing. If it was 100 people racing, you winning means more, but it takes 99 losers for you to make you feel that much better. The same thing with, only 3 people and there's still only 2 losers. Then, it doesn't mean as much when there's only 2 other people you're racing. It takes more losers for you to be more satisfied. The same thing with evolution, being everyone else being losers. Dying at birth or whatever it may be for the one person to live long enough to have procreate for another thing to live, to do the same old process all over again. It's just a function of replication. It's not doing anything else. It's just the same frivolous function repeating itself redundantly over and over again in the same process, accomplishing absolutely nothing other than to accomplish it surviving long enough to replicate again, and to replicate again. It's doing nothing but replicating to replicate. I've heard this before. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy peasy, peasy squeezy. That's it, right? I've explained it all. There's nothing left to learn in reality except how many A's are in the B sector and how many C's are in the A sector. Really, it's about assigning numbers and how many exactly these things fit in each box. But then again, you figure it out, and then what? You figured it out so we can do what with that knowledge? What can we do with that knowledge? Well, the A's in the B sector and the C's in the A sector. Okay, we know that knowledge now. Ooh, revelation. Ooh, buzz. Ooh, tickle me. Tickle me, stickle. Oh, yes, feels so good. Okay, now what? Now what? What do you got after that? You got nothing. Okay, you satisfied it. Now what? How many B's, name these, and okay, you can keep solving it, but the addiction is the thing that's driving you, and once you satisfy it, you're looking for it again. And without it, you got nothing. So, that's it. That's it. I'm sorry. That's reality. Reality sucks. Hate to point it out, but then again, you might just not get it, right? You're too stupid to get it right. If you don't get it, if you want to say that, then you're just too stupid to get it then, okay? I'm just be honest. That's the truth. You can say it vice versa, but that doesn't mean what you're saying is true and what I'm saying is false. It just means you're in denial and I know the truth's on my side. And just because you say it doesn't mean you're right. This means that you're full of shit. So you can be all full of shit all you want. It doesn't mean you're going to change reality just because you think it a different way. Because your thinking is all the same part of the same function as the reality itself. Think all you want. Your thinking doesn't change reality or make reality. Reality makes your thinking. Your thinking, nothing else. Sorry. The end. So yeah, the end. The end. The big payoff, now the end. You got the payoff, now it's over. You figured out reality, but there wasn't much to figure out because you saw exactly what was happening. You just fiddled with some of the buttons and knobs just to see how high and low it can go. But once you figure out how high and low it can go, okay, you're gonna sit there and fiddle with the buttons just to amuse yourself all the more. You're not gonna be doing much of anything beyond that. So yeah, I mean that's about it, right? Reality's not that interesting. Reality's kind of simple, unfortunately, right? So it's one of those things you just gotta come to terms with if you recognize it. But then again, I'm sure none of you will recognize it. You're too silly to understand it, right? So yeah, anyway. Yep. Now what? Well, I guess it's the big payoff. The big payoff. The big payoff. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, well, I guess it's the big payoff. The big payoff now